I met Yoo-chan on a Tuesday in a conference room that smelled like old coffee and new money. He was the opposition's rising star, 34, Harvard-educated, with a smile that made you forget he'd just eviscerated your entire policy proposal. I was the lead strategist for Senator Harrison's re-election campaign. He was the man trying to destroy everything I'd built. Miss Bennett. He said my name like he was tasting it, testing it. Your infrastructure plan has some interesting gaps. I met his eyes across the table. Dark, sharp, calculating. Counselor Kwan, your critique has some interesting inaccuracies. The room went quiet. His team looked uncomfortable. Mine looked terrified. Nobody talked to Yoo-chan like that. He was the golden boy of Korean-American politics, the son of diplomats, the protege of senators, the man who'd never lost a debate. He smiled, actually smiled. Then perhaps we should discuss this privately. That was my first mistake, agreeing to meet him. The second was thinking I could win. We met at a hotel bar in Georgetown, neutral territory, public enough to be safe, private enough to be honest. He was already there when I arrived, reading something on his phone, scotch untouched beside him. He looked up when I approached. You came. You doubted I would. Most people don't enjoy having their work dissected by someone who actually read it. He gestured to the seat across from him. Sit. I promise not to bite. I wasn't worried about your teeth, counselor. Yoo-chan, he said. If we're going to be enemies, we should at least be on a first-name basis. I sat, ordered a whiskey. He raised an eyebrow. Most women ordered wine at places like this, but said nothing. Point to me. Your infrastructure plan, he said, pulling out a tablet. It's good. Better than good. The numbers work. The timeline's ambitious, but feasible. The environmental impact is actually impressive. I waited. There was always a but with men like him. But it's political suicide, he continued. You're proposing a 15% tax increase on the top bracket to fund it. In an election year, Harrison's base will revolt. Harrison's base wants results. They want bridges that don't collapse. They want clean water. They want to feel like they're not being punished for success. He leaned forward. I'm not saying you're wrong, Simone. I'm saying you're not going to win. The way he said my name, like he'd been saying it for years instead of minutes, made something tighten in my chest. I ignored it. Then what do you suggest? I asked, since you're suddenly so concerned with my campaign success. I'm not. His smile was sharp. But I am concerned with good policy dying because of bad politics. If you restructured the funding mechanism, corporate incentives instead of direct taxation, you could get bipartisan support, including mine. I stared at him. You'd support Harrison's infrastructure plan? I'd support your infrastructure plan. Harrison's just the vehicle. He took a sip of his scotch. The question is whether you're willing to compromise your ideals for implementation. That's not compromise. That's surrender. That's governing, Miss Bennett. He stood, dropping cash on the table. Think about it. You have my number. He left me sitting there, angry and intrigued and hating that he'd made a point I couldn't quite dismiss. I didn't call him. He called me. Over the next 3 months, we met 6 more times, always in public, always about policy, always ending with me wanting to throw something at his perfectly composed face and also maybe kiss it. I didn't examine that second impulse too closely. He was brilliant, infuriating. He could dismantle an argument in 3 sentences and rebuild it into something stronger. He listened when I spoke, actually listened, instead of just waiting for his turn to talk. He challenged me, made me sharper, and he looked at me sometimes like I was an equation he couldn't solve. You're not like the other strategists, he said once, over our 5th coffee meeting in as many weeks. Because I'm black? Because I'm a woman? Because you believe what you're selling. He stirred his espresso watching me. Most people in this city are just playing the game. You're trying to win it, aren't you? I used to think so. Something crossed his face. Uncertainty. Doubt. It was gone in a second. Now, I'm not sure what winning looks like. I should have asked what he meant. Should have pushed. Instead, I changed the subject to budget reconciliation and pretended I didn't see the flash of disappointment in his eyes. The problem was, I was starting to like him. More than like him. And that was dangerous for 1,000 reasons, starting with the fact that we were on opposite sides of everything, and ending with the fact that my boss, the senator I'd been loyal to for 6 years, would lose his mind if he knew I was having drinks with the enemy. So I didn't tell him. Another mistake. I met Park Min-ho on a Thursday at a fundraiser I didn't want to attend. He was the senator's new deputy chief of staff, brought in from the State Department, where he'd spent 10 years negotiating treaties and building consensus. He was 42, silver starting to thread through his black hair, with the kind of quiet authority that made rooms settle when he entered them. Simone Bennett. He found me by the bar, hiding from donors. I've heard a lot about you. Should I be flattered or concerned? Both, probably. He smiled. It was warm, genuine, nothing like Yoo-chan's calculated charm. The senator says you're the reason we're still competitive in this race. The senator exaggerates. The senator, Min-ho said quietly, never exaggerates about people who make him look good. He ordered a drink, bourbon neat, and turned to face me fully. I wanted to introduce myself properly. I know transitions can be difficult. New leadership, new dynamics. You're not new leadership. You're the senator's right hand. And you're his left. He clinked his glass against mine. We should probably learn to work together. I liked him immediately, which was inconvenient because I was already halfway to something complicated with Yoo-chan, and now here was Min-ho, steady, thoughtful Min-ho, looking at me like I was more than just a strategist who delivered results. We started working closely. Late nights at the office. Strategy sessions that turned into conversations about everything except politics. He told me about his childhood in Seoul, moving to the States at 15, feeling caught between two worlds. I told him about growing up in Atlanta, being the only black girl in AP classes, learning to be twice as good to get half the credit. You're more than twice as good, he said one night, somewhere around 2 a.m., surrounded by policy briefs and cold coffee. You're the best strategist I've ever seen. You haven't seen many strategists. I've seen enough. He was looking at me in a way that made my pulse skip, and I know exceptional when I see it. I should have left, should have maintained the professional boundary. Instead, I stayed, and when he reached across the table to move a strand of hair from my face, I let him. Simone, he said softly, tell me to stop. I didn't. He kissed me, gentle, patient, like he had all the time in the world and wanted to spend it learning the shape of my mouth. When he pulled back, his hand still cupped my face. I shouldn't have done that, he said. Probably not. I'm going to do it again. Probably should. And he did. So now I had a problem. Two problems. Actually, both of them Korean, both of them brilliant, both of them looking at me like I was something rare and worth fighting for. Yoo-chan didn't know about Min-ho. Min-ho didn't know about Yoo-chan. And I was lying to both of them by omission, which felt worse than an outright lie. It wasn't like I was sleeping with either of them. Min-ho and I had kissed exactly 3 times in 2 months. Always late at night, always in the office, always followed by his careful retreat and my confusion. Yoo-chan and I had never even touched, unless you counted the time our hands brushed, reaching for the same document, and I felt it in my spine. But the feelings were there, growing, complicated. With Min-ho, it was comfort, safety. He made me feel seen in a way I hadn't been since my father died. He was the kind of man you could build a life with, steady, loyal, emotionally available in a city where that was rarer than honesty. With Yoo-chan, it was fire, challenge. He made me sharper, angrier, more alive. He was the kind of man you couldn't look away from, Dangerous, compelling, impossible to predict. I wanted both of them, for different reasons, in different ways, and then everything fell apart. The news broke on a Monday morning. A whistleblower from Senator Harrison's office had leaked documents showing that 3 years ago he'd accepted illegal campaign contributions from a defense contractor. The same contractor that had just been awarded a massive infrastructure contract. The same infrastructure project I'd been defending for months. My infrastructure plan, built on dirty money. I stared at my phone, watching my career implode in real time. The senator's office was in chaos. The press was circling, and I was the architect of a policy funded by corruption. Minho found me in my office, staring at my laptop screen. Simone. He closed the door behind him. We need to talk. Did you know? My voice was flat, empty. Did you know about the contributions? He was quiet too long. Oh my God. I stood. You knew. I suspected, he said carefully. I had questions, but I didn't have proof until. How long? Simone. How long have you known that my plan was built on illegal money? That I've been defending corruption? 6 weeks. He looked pained. Maybe 2 months. I've been trying to investigate, quietly, trying to protect you. Protect me? I laughed. It sounded wrong. Broken. You let me stand in front of Congress and defend this. You let me put my name on something dirty. I was trying to fix it before anyone got hurt. Too late for that. He reached for me. I stepped back. Don't, I said. Don't touch me. Don't look at me like that. You lied to me. I was trying to protect yourself, the senator, the campaign. I grabbed my bag. Everyone except me. I left him standing there. Left the office. Left my phone buzzing with calls from reporters and colleagues, and everyone who wanted a piece of the story. I went to the only place I could think of. Yoo-chan opened his door at 11 p.m., took one look at my face, and pulled me inside without a word. His apartment was minimalist, expensive, nothing like I'd imagined. He led me to the couch, disappeared into the kitchen, returned with water and whiskey. I took the whiskey. I saw the news, he said quietly. I'm sorry. Don't. I drank. It burned. Don't apologize. You were right. About the funding. About Harrison. About all of it. I didn't want to be right. Not like this. I looked at him. Really looked. He was in sweatpants and an old Harvard t-shirt. Hair messed up like he'd been running his hands through it. He looked younger. More human. Less like the polished politician who dismantled arguments for sport. Why did you invite me to that first meeting? I asked. The bar. Georgetown. Why? He was quiet for a long moment. Because I wanted to know if you were as smart as you seemed. If you actually believed in what you were building, or if you were just another mercenary selling policy to the highest bidder. And you were smarter. And you believed. He poured himself a drink, and I realized I was in trouble. What kind of trouble? The kind where I couldn't stop thinking about you. He met my eyes. The kind where I started structuring my schedule around our meetings. The kind where I let you get under my skin in a way nobody has in years. Something in my chest cracked open. Yoo-chan. You don't have to say anything. He set down his glass. I know we're on opposite sides. I know you probably hate me half the time. I know this is the worst possible timing. But I'm tired of pretending I look at you like an opponent. I don't. I haven't for months. I should have left. Should have processed my collapsing career before adding this complication. Instead, I kissed him. It wasn't gentle like Minho's kisses. It was desperate, angry. Like we'd been fighting this for too long and the dam had finally broken. His hands were in my hair, mine fisted in his shirt, and for the first time in 12 hours, I felt something other than sick. When we broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to mine. Stay, he said. Tonight, Just tonight. You don't have to go back to that office. To that mess. Just stay. I stayed. Morning came too fast. I woke up in Yoo-chan's bed, wearing his shirt, with him still asleep beside me. Nothing had happened beyond kissing and falling asleep, tangled together, but it felt intimate in a way that terrified me. My phone was full of messages. 17 from Minho, 32 from colleagues, 8 from the senator, 1 from my mother, who'd apparently seen the news in Atlanta, and 1 from an unknown number. We should talk. The whistleblower. I stared at that last message. The person who destroyed my career wanted to talk. Yoo-chan stirred beside me. Morning. His voice was rough with sleep. You okay? I don't know. I showed him the message. Someone wants to meet. He sat up, suddenly alert. Don't. Simone, don't engage with. I have to know why. Why they leaked it. Why now? Why me? It wasn't about you. You know that. Do I? I stood looking for my clothes. My name is on everything. The plan, the proposal, the testimony. I'm the one going down for this. Then don't go down. He was out of bed now, barefoot in sweatpants, looking at me with an intensity that made my breath catch. Fight. You're good at that. Fight how? The evidence is real. The contributions happened. I built a policy on dirty money. You built a good policy. The money was dirty, but the work wasn't. The need isn't. He moved closer. Don't let them make you the villain in this story. Who should be the villain? The senator who took the money? The contractor who gave it? Or me, the strategist who was too stupid to ask questions? None of you. He touched my face. The system that makes good policy impossible without compromise. That's the villain. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to believe this could be salvaged. Instead, I pulled away. I should go. Simone. Thank you. For last night. For letting me fall apart here instead of alone. I found my shoes. But I need to figure this out. And I can't do that here. Why not? Because I'm falling for you, and I'm already falling for someone else, and I can't think straight when you look at me like that. Because it's complicated, I said instead. He didn't stop me when I left. Minho was waiting outside my apartment. He looked like he hadn't slept. Still in yesterday's suit, tie loosened. 5 o'clock shadow making him look older. I've been calling, he said. I know. Where were you? I could have lied. Should have lied. Instead, with someone who didn't lie to me. He flinched. Simone, please. Let me explain. Explain what? How you knew Harrison was dirty and let me defend him. How you watched me testify before Congress, knowing I was building a case on illegal contributions. I unlocked my door. He followed me in. Or explain how you kissed me while lying to my face. I wasn't lying. Omission is lying, Minho. We both know that. I was trying to protect you. His voice rose. I'd never heard him yell. If you'd known, you would have confronted Harrison, gone public, destroyed your own career trying to do the right thing. I was trying to fix it quietly so you wouldn't have to make that choice. That wasn't your choice to make. I know. He sank onto my couch, head in his hands. I know. And I'm sorry. I thought I was helping. I thought if I could just get enough evidence, build a case, I could force Harrison to return the money before anyone found out. Clean it up. Make it right. Nothing about this is right. I know. He looked up at me. But I did it because I care about you. Because watching you work yourself to death for a cause you believe in, knowing it was built on lies, it was killing me. So I tried to fix it. And failed. And failed. He stood, moved toward me, stopped when I held up a hand. Simone, please, tell me how to fix this. You can't. Then tell me how to fix us. I laughed. It came out bitter. There is no us, Minho. There was a kiss. 3 kisses. That doesn't make us anything. It made me fall in love with you. The words hit like a punch. He'd never said that, never even implied it. We'd been careful, professional, keeping whatever this was contained to late nights and stolen moments. Don't, I said. Don't say that. Why not? It's true. He closed the distance between us. I love you. I've loved you since you shredded that policy memo in your first week and rebuilt it into something brilliant. I love how you fight for what you believe in, how you make everyone around you better, how you see the world not as it is, but as it could be. Min-ho. I know I fucked up. I know I should have told you about Harrison. But I swear to God, Simone, everything I did was to protect you. Because losing you would break something in me I don't know how to fix. I wanted to believe him, wanted to forgive him, wanted to fall into his arms and let him make it better. But I couldn't stop seeing Yoo-chan's face this morning. Couldn't stop feeling the shape of his kiss. Couldn't stop comparing the two of them. Steady Minho who'd lied to protect me. Dangerous Yoo-chan who'd always been honest even when it hurt. I need time, I said finally, to think, to figure out what's next. I can't do this right now. Okay. He backed toward the door. Okay, take all the time you need. But Simone. He paused. I'm not giving up on you. On us. Whatever that means. He left. I stood in my apartment, surrounded by the wreckage of my career and my heart, and wondered how I'd gotten here. Then I texted the whistleblower. We met in a park. Public. Daytime. Safe. The whistleblower was a woman my age, maybe younger, wearing a nondescript jacket and sunglasses despite the clouds. Miss Bennett. She sat beside me on the bench. Thank you for coming. You destroyed my career. Least I can do is find out why. She was quiet for a moment. Then, I worked for Senator Harrison for 3 years. Started as an intern. He promoted me, mentored me, told me I had a bright future. Her voice was flat, empty. Then I found out about the money, the kickbacks, the way he was selling access to the highest bidder. And when I tried to report it through proper channels, he threatened me. Threatened how? Said he'd destroy my reputation, make sure I never worked in the city again. Called me hysterical, unstable. She turned to look at me. Sound familiar? It did. God, it did. How many times had I watched Harrison dismiss women who challenged him? How many times had I ignored it because he was effective, because he was my boss, because I told myself it wasn't my problem? Why the infrastructure plan? I asked, why not just leak the contributions directly? Because I needed proof that the money influenced policy, that it wasn't just campaign finance violations, but actual corruption. Your plan was the proof. The timing of the contributions matched the contract awards. The defense contractor got exactly what they paid for. My stomach turned. I didn't know. I know. She sounded sad. I read everything you've written. Your testimony. Your policy briefs. You're brilliant, Miss Bennett. You actually care about fixing things. That's why I'm here. I don't understand. I'm giving you a choice. She pulled out an envelope. And here is everything. The full paper trail. The recordings. The evidence that shows Harrison knew exactly what he was doing. And that you didn't. That Minho did. And tried to cover it up. That half the senior staff was complicit. I stared at the envelope. Why give this to me? Because you can do 2 things with it. She set it on the bench between us. Option 1, you release it. All of it. You burn Harrison to the ground. Along with everyone who protected him. You clear your name. Probably destroy your relationship with Park Min-ho in the process. But hey, collateral damage. And option 2? You bury it. You take the fall. You resign quietly. Let Harrison claim it was a rogue staffer, and you walk away. Minho keeps his job. Harrison maybe survives. The party doesn't implode 6 months before an election. That's not a choice. That's asking me to sacrifice myself. No. She stood. That's asking you what matters more. Your reputation or the people who depend on Harrison winning. Because like it or not, if he goes down, the seat flips red. And the infrastructure plan you built? Dead. Along with every other progressive policy you fought for. She walked away, leaving me alone with an envelope and an impossible decision. I didn't open it immediately. I sat there for an hour, watching joggers and dog walkers and tourists, trying to figure out what the right answer was. Option 1. Release everything. Clear my name. Destroy Harrison, Min-ho, and probably the Democratic majority in the Senate. Watch years of work disintegrate. But at least I'd be honest. At least I'd be on the right side. Option 2. Take the fall. Let everyone believe I was the corrupt one. Save the campaign. Save Min-ho's career. Save the policies I believed in. Lose everything else. There was a third option, of course. The one nobody was offering. The one that felt impossible. Fight. Not for Harrison. Not for Min-ho. Not for my reputation. Fight for the truth. The whole truth. The complicated, messy truth that didn't fit into neat categories of villain and victim. I opened the envelope. The evidence was damning. Recordings of Harrison discussing the contributions. Emails from Min-ho to senior staff about managing the situation. Memos showing that half the campaign knew and said nothing. But there was something else. Something the whistleblower either hadn't noticed or hadn't mentioned. Yoo-chan's name. On emails. In conversations. He'd known about the contributions too. Known for at least a year. And he'd been sitting on it, waiting for the right moment to deploy it. My stomach dropped. All those meetings. All those conversations about policy and compromise and what winning really meant. He'd been playing me. Using me. Getting close so that when this moment came, I'd be compromised, conflicted, easier to manipulate. Or maybe I was wrong. Maybe there was an explanation. I called him. Simone. He answered on the first ring. Are you okay? Did you know about Harrison's contributions? Silence. Too long. Too heavy. Yoo-chan. Did you know? Yes. His voice was quiet. I knew. How long? 14 months. He sighed. I've had the evidence for 14 months. And you just sat on it? While I built a campaign defending him. I was trying to figure out how to use it without destroying you in the process. Bullshit. I was standing now, pacing. You were waiting for the right political moment. You were using me, getting close to me so you'd have leverage when this came out. That's not, Simone, that's not true. Yes, initially I thought having a relationship with you might be strategically useful. But that changed. I changed. When? When did it change? I don't know. Somewhere between the third meeting and the fifth kiss and waking up with you in my bed. I stopped thinking about strategy and started thinking about you. About us. There is no us, I said, even though it hurt. There's just two people who lied to each other while pretending to be something real. I never lied to you. You withheld evidence. That's the same thing. I withheld evidence to protect you. Everyone keeps saying that. Min-ho said that. You're saying it now. And you know what I'm starting to realize? When men say they're protecting me, they really mean they're protecting themselves. Their plans. Their version of how things should be. I was crying now. Angry tears. Frustrated tears. Nobody asked me what I wanted. Nobody gave me a choice. I'm giving you one now. His voice was urgent. Walk away. From Harrison. From Min-ho. From all of it. Come work with me. We'll build something new. Something clean. You and me. And what happens when the next compromise comes? When you have to choose between me and winning? What happens then, Yoo-chan? He didn't answer. That's what I thought. I hung up. I spent 3 days alone. Not answering calls. Not checking email. Just sitting in my apartment with the evidence spread across my coffee table. trying to figure out who I was if I wasn't Simone Bennett, brilliant strategist, woman who fixed problems. Minho came by twice. I didn't answer the door. Yoo-chan sent flowers. I threw them away. The senator sent a lawyer. I sent him back. And then on day 4, my mother called. Baby girl. Her voice was warm, worried. Talk to me. I broke. Told her everything. The contributions. The lies. The 2 men I'd somehow fallen for. Both of whom had betrayed me in different ways. The choice I had to make. She listened. Didn't interrupt. Didn't judge. Just listen the way only mothers can. When I finished, she was quiet for a long moment. Do you remember, she said finally, when you were 12 and you wanted to run for class president? Mom, you made all these promises about better lunches and longer recess and no homework on Fridays. And you meant them. Every one. But then you won, and you realized you couldn't deliver any of it. The principal wouldn't allow it. So you had a choice. I remembered. I could have done nothing, blamed the administration, or I could have found what I could change. And what did you choose? I fought for what was possible. New water fountains, a book drive, recycling program. Wasn't what I promised, but it was real. That's right. I could hear her smile, because you've never been the kind of woman who walks away when things get hard. You're the kind who figures out how to make things better, even when better looks different than you planned. What if better isn't possible this time? Then you make possible good enough, and you keep fighting. She paused. But baby, you gotta decide what you're fighting for. Your reputation, those men, or something bigger. After we hung up, I knew what I had to do. I called a press conference, not through the senator's office, my own. Rented a room at the press club, invited every outlet I could think of, and showed up in my best suit with a folder of evidence and a speech I'd written at 4 a.m. Minho tried to stop me, showed up at my apartment an hour before, begging me to reconsider. If you release that evidence, you destroy everyone, including yourself. Maybe that's what needs to happen. Simone, please, think about what you're doing. Think about. I am thinking. For the first time in months, I'm thinking clearly. I met his eyes. I love you, Minho. I do. You're kind and steady, and you make me feel safe in a way nobody else does. But you lied to me, and I can't build a life on that foundation. I was trying to protect you. I know. And maybe in your position, I would have done the same thing. But that doesn't make it right. I touched his face, and it doesn't mean I can forgive it. So that's it? We're done. I don't know. Maybe. Probably. I dropped my hand. But right now, I have to focus on what's right, not what's easy. He left looking broken. I felt the same. Yoo-chan was at the press conference. I saw him in the back, arms crossed, watching. When our eyes met, he didn't smile, just nodded. Once, like he understood. I stepped to the microphone. My name is Simone Bennett. For the past 6 years, I've been the lead strategist for Senator Harrison's office. I'm here today to tell you the truth about the infrastructure plan I developed, the illegal contributions that funded it, and what I believe needs to happen next. I laid it all out, the contributions, the timeline, the fact that Harrison knew, the fact that Minho knew, the fact that Yoo-chan knew. I didn't spare anyone, including myself. I should have asked more questions, I said. I should have demanded to see the funding sources. I should have done my due diligence. I didn't. I was so focused on building something good that I didn't stop to consider how it was being built. That's on me. I paused, looked directly at the cameras. But here's the thing about good policy. It doesn't stop being good just because bad people funded it. The infrastructure plan I designed would create jobs, modernize critical systems, and invest in communities that have been ignored for decades. Those things are still true, still necessary, still worth fighting for. I pulled out a new document, one I'd been working on for 3 days. So I'm proposing something new. A revised plan. Same goals, different funding. No corporate contributions. No special interests. Just a straightforward tax mechanism that's transparent, legal, and actually progressive. I'm calling it the Clean Infrastructure Act. The room erupted with questions. I answered them. All of them. For 2 hours, I stood there and defended my work, admitted my mistakes, and argued for why we should try again. When it was over, I was exhausted, exhilarated, terrified, and when I walked out of the building, both of them were waiting. Minho stood on the left, Yoo-chan on the right. Neither spoke, just waited to see what I'd do. I looked at Minho, steady, honest Minho, who'd lied to protect me and broken something in the process. That was brave, he said quietly. That was necessary. I stepped closer. I meant what I said up there. About loving you. But I can't be with someone I don't trust. And I don't know if I can trust you again. Then let me earn it back. He reached for my hand. I let him take it, however long it takes. Whatever it takes. Let me prove I can be the man you deserve. I don't need you to be anything except honest. I can do that. He squeezed my hand. Starting now. I'm resigning. I told Harrison this morning. I can't work for someone I don't respect, even if it means losing everything. Something in my chest loosened. Minho. It's already done. And it's not for you. It's for me. He smiled. Sad but real. I need to figure out who I am when I'm not compromising my values for power. Maybe then I'll be someone worth your time. He kissed my forehead, let go of my hand, walked away. I watched him go, feeling something between grief and relief. Then I turned to Yoo-chan. He looked different, less polished, more uncertain. Hell of a press conference. You knew I was going to do it. I hoped you would. He moved closer. You took option 3. The one where you don't choose between your values and your career. You just choose your values and figure out the rest later. You sat on evidence for 14 months. I did. You used me to get close to Harrison's campaign. Initially, yes. He didn't flinch from it. And then somewhere along the way, you stopped being a strategy and started being the person I thought about first thing in the morning and last thing at night. That doesn't make it okay. I know. He was close enough now that I could see the exhaustion in his eyes. I know it doesn't, and I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm asking you to understand why I did it. Enlighten me. Because I grew up watching my father negotiate treaties, watching him compromise and strategize and sacrifice truth for stability. And I learned that's what politics is. Timing, leverage, knowing which cards to play and when. He ran a hand through his hair. Then I met you. And you don't play cards. You lay them all on the table and dare people to fold. That's not a strategy. That's stupidity. That's integrity. His voice was soft, and it made me question everything I thought I knew about how this game works. I wanted to stay angry, wanted to walk away from both of them and never look back. But standing there, looking at Yoo-chan's face, I realized something that made my chest ache. I loved them both. Differently. Impossibly. Completely. Minho made me feel safe. Yoo-chan made me feel alive. And I had no idea which one I needed more. I can't do this right now, I said. I just blew up my career on national television. I have no idea what happens next. And I can't figure out my feelings for you while I'm trying to figure out who I am. Okay. He stepped back, then figured out. And when you're ready, if you're ready, I'll be here. What if I'm never ready? Then I'll deal with that too. He smiled. It was painful. But I'm betting on you, Simone. I've been betting on you since the first time you told me I was wrong and proved it. He left, and I stood there alone, surrounded by the wreckage of everything I'd built, wondering what the hell I was supposed to do now. The fallout was immediate and brutal. Senator Harrison resigned within 48 hours. The FBI opened an investigation. 3 senior staffers were indicted. Minho's resignation made headlines. The deputy chief of staff, who'd tried to expose corruption from the inside, depending on which outlet you believed. My Clean Infrastructure Act got introduced by a freshman senator from Oregon. It had no chance of passing, but it started conversations. That was something. I got job offers, think tanks, advocacy groups, teaching positions. Everyone wanted the strategist who'd burned down her own house rather than live in it dirty. I turned them all down. I needed time, space, to figure out who I was when I wasn't working 80-hour weeks trying to save the world. I went home to Atlanta, stayed with my mother, helped her with her garden, went to my little sister's soccer games, remembered what normal life felt like. Minho called once a week, just to check in, never pushing, never asking for anything except confirmation that I was okay. His texts were simple: thinking of you. Hope you're well. Saw something that made me think of you today. It was sweet, painful, a reminder of what we could have been if he'd just been honest from the start. Yoo-chan didn't call, didn't text. For 3 weeks, I heard nothing. Then a package arrived at my mother's house. Inside was a book, a collection of policy essays from emerging voices in politics, with a post-it note stuck to the front. Thought you'd appreciate these. They're all challenging the system the way you do. You're not alone in this fight. YC. No pressure. No declarations. Just acknowledgement that he was thinking of me. I read the book in 2 days. Then I called him. Simone. He sounded surprised. Happy. How are you? Better. Different. I don't know. I was sitting on my mother's porch, watching the sunset. Thank you for the book. You're welcome. Did you like it? I did. Made me realize there are people out there doing the work, fighting the good fight, and they're not doing it from inside the establishment. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe I've been fighting from the wrong position. Maybe I need to be outside the system to change it. I paused. I'm thinking about starting something. An organization. Independent. No party affiliation. Just people who want to create actual change instead of just talking about it. That's a terrible idea. He said it warmly. It'll be thankless, underfunded, and you'll make enemies on both sides. I know. When do you start? I don't know. I need to figure out funding. Structure. Whether I'm insane for even considering it. You're not insane. You're brave. There's a difference. He was quiet for a moment. Can I help? I thought we were on opposite sides. We were. But maybe that's the problem with politics. Everything's binary. You're with us or against us. Maybe there's space for something different. Like what? Like people who disagree but respect each other enough to find common ground. Like collaborations that shouldn't work but do. Like he stopped, started again. Like us. My heart was beating too fast. Yoo-chan, I still don't know what this means. Neither do I, but I'd like to find out. If you're willing. I'm in Atlanta. I can fly to Atlanta. I'm not ready to see you. To see anyone. I'm still figuring things out. Okay. He didn't sound hurt. Just patient. Then I'll wait. But Simone, whatever you build, I want to be part of it. Not as a partner. Not as anything except someone who believes in what you're doing. Let me help. Why? Because watching you fight for what's right made me remember why I got into politics in the first place. Before the strategy, and the leverage, and the games. When I actually believed we could make things better. His voice was rough. You reminded me of that. The least I can do is help you build something that keeps that belief alive. After we hung up, I sat on the porch for a long time, thinking about choices and consequences and the messy reality of loving 2 men who'd both hurt me and both changed me. Minho showed up 2 weeks later, unannounced, standing on my mother's porch in jeans and a sweater, looking more relaxed than I'd ever seen him. I heard you were starting something, he said. I want in. I stared at him. Who told you? Yoo-chan, actually. We had coffee. It was surprisingly pleasant. He smiled. Turns out we both want the same thing, which is to support you, however we can, whatever that looks like. Min-ho, I'm not asking for us to be together. I'm not asking for anything except the chance to be part of what you're building. I resigned from Harrison's office. I've spent the last month doing consulting work and realizing I hate it. I want to do something that matters. He stepped closer. Let me help. This is crazy, I said. You and Yoo-chan working together. Is it crazier than a black woman from Atlanta trying to change American politics from outside the system? He raised an eyebrow. Because that's what you're doing, right? I laughed. Couldn't help it. You're both insane. We learned from the best. He was close enough now that I could see the hope in his eyes. Simone, I know I fucked up. I know I broke your trust. But I'm asking for the chance to earn it back. Not as your boyfriend. Not as anything except someone who believes in what you're doing and wants to help make it real. And if I fall in love with someone else, if I choose Yoo-chan, if I choose nobody, then I deal with that. But at least I'll be doing work I believe in with people I respect. That's more than most people get. I looked at him. Really looked. He meant it. Every word. Okay, said. Both of you can help. But on one condition. Anything. No more lies. No more omissions. No more protecting me from things you think I can't handle. If we're building something together, it has to be built on truth. Even when truth is ugly. Deal. He held out his hand. I shook it. And just like that, everything changed again. 6 months later, we launched the initiative. That's what we called it. Simple, direct, impossible to misinterpret. An independent policy organization focused on creating real change through coalition building, transparency, and grassroots support. The office was small, a converted warehouse in Southeast DC. Nothing fancy, but it was ours. Yoo-chan handled legal and political strategy. Min-ho managed operations and fundraising. I focused on policy development and public advocacy. We fought constantly about tactics, about messaging, about whose turn it was to make coffee. But we also built something real, something that didn't exist before. We drafted legislation that actually had bipartisan support. We worked with community organizations to identify needs and develop solutions. We held town halls where people could speak truth to power without filters. And slowly, painfully, we started to change things. The Clean Infrastructure Act finally passed, in modified form, 18 months after I'd proposed it. It wasn't perfect. It was full of compromises I hated. But it was real. It would help people. That mattered. Min-ho and I never got back together. Not in the way we were before. But we built something better. Trust, respect, genuine friendship. He started dating someone from the fundraising department. I was happy for him. Mostly. Yoo-chan and I were complicated. We worked together. We fought together. We grabbed drinks after long days and argued about policy until 2 a.m. We kissed exactly twice in those 6 months. Once after we got our first major grant. Once after a particularly brutal congressional hearing where we both testified. Both times, we pulled away before it went further. I don't want to mess this up, he said after the second kiss. His forehead pressed to mine. What we're building here. The work. I don't want my feelings to complicate it. They already complicate it, I said. I think about you constantly. I wonder what we could be if we weren't working together. If there wasn't so much history. So what do we do? I don't know. I pulled back. Maybe we just keep building. Keep working. And see what happens. That's not a plan. No, but it's honest. He smiled, kissed my forehead. Let me go. 2 years after the press conference that ended my career and started something new, I found myself back in that same room. Different context, different purpose. This time I was announcing a run for Congress. Independent candidate. No party affiliation. Just me and my ideas and my record of actually getting things done. It was a long shot. I had no political machine behind me. No major donors. Just a small organization, a good reputation, and the support of two men who'd become the most important people in my professional life. Yoo-chan was in the front row. Min-ho stood to the side, ready to handle press questions. My mother sat next to Yoo-chan, already crying. 2 years ago, I said into the microphone, I stood in a different room and told you the truth about corruption in politics. Today, I'm standing here to tell you the truth about what comes next. I looked at the crowd, at the cameras, at the people who'd believed in me when I had no reason to believe in myself. I'm running for Congress because I believe we can do better. Not perfect, not pure, but better. I believe we can build policy that serves people instead of donors. I believe we can have honest conversations about hard problems. I believe we can disagree without destroying each other. I paused, and I believe that change doesn't come from inside the system or outside it. It comes from people who are willing to work from wherever they are to make things better. The room erupted in applause, questions, chaos, but I was calm, centered, ready. After, Yoo-chan found me in the hallway. Hell of a speech. Think I have a chance? Honestly, no idea. You're running against a 20-year incumbent with unlimited funding and name recognition. He smiled, but I've learned not to bet against you. You're going to support me? Even though I'll be opposing your party's policies half the time. I'll support good policy, wherever it comes from, even if it's from an irritating independent who makes my life harder. He stepped closer, and I'll support you, always, in whatever form you need. What if what I need is complicated? Everything about you is complicated, Simone. I figured that out 2 years ago. He touched my face. Question is whether complicated is enough for you. I didn't know how to answer that. Didn't know if I wanted Min-ho's steady safety or Yoo-chan's challenging fire. Didn't know if I wanted either of them or if I was better alone, focused on work, building something that mattered more than romance. I think, I started. Min-ho appeared at the end of the hallway. Simone, there's a donor who wants to meet you. Major donor. 7 figures if you can convince her you're worth it. I looked at Yoo-chan. He looked at me. Something passed between us. Understanding, maybe. Acceptance that whatever we were, it would have to wait. Go, he said. Win. Everything else can wait. I went. The campaign was brutal. 3 months of 18-hour days, hostile interviews, attack ads, and constant pressure. My opponent tried to paint me as a radical, a troublemaker, someone who'd betrayed her own party and couldn't be trusted. I leaned into it, ran ads showing the press conference, my testimony about the corruption, my work at the initiative. I didn't shy away from the mess. I owned it. I've made mistakes, I said in every interview. I trusted the wrong people. I defended policies built on dirty money. But when I found out, I didn't hide. I didn't make excuses. I fixed it. That's what I'll do in Congress. Fix things, even when it's hard. Yoo-chan worked behind the scenes, building coalitions with moderate Republicans who were sick of extremism. Min-ho managed the ground game, organizing volunteers and canvassers. My mother made calls to every church in the district. And slowly, impossibly, I started to gain ground. The polls had me down by 15 points in August, 10 points in September, 5 points in October. The week before the election, we were tied. Election night was chaos. The office was packed with volunteers, supporters, reporters. Numbers came in slowly. My district was close, too close to call. At 11 p.m., I was up by 200 votes. At midnight, down by 150. By 2 a.m., I was ready to concede. Then the last precinct reported, a neighborhood I'd canvassed personally. knocked on every door, talked to every voter. I won it by 800 votes. That put me up overall by 412. The room erupted. People screaming, crying, celebrating. I stood there in shock, trying to process that I'd actually done it. Independent candidate. No party machine. I had won. Minho hugged me first, lifted me off the ground. You did it. You actually did it. My mother was next, sobbing into my shoulder. Then volunteers, supporters, reporters wanting statements. Through it all, I kept looking for Yoo-chan. I found him outside, standing on the fire escape, looking at the city lights. Hey, said, we won. I know. He turned to face me. Congratulations, Congresswoman Bennett. The title sounded surreal. Wrong. Right. I didn't know. I couldn't have done it without you. Yes, you could have. But I'm glad I got to help. He was quiet for a moment. What happens now? I don't know. I moved to D.C. full-time. I take office in January. I try not to fuck it up. You won't. He said it with certainty. You'll challenge everyone, make enemies, probably get nothing passed for your entire first term because you refuse to play the game. You make it sound terrible. It'll be terrible, and necessary, and exactly what that place needs. He moved closer. What we need. I looked at him, really looked. Yoo-chan, the man who'd challenged me from the beginning, who'd lied to me and hurt me and made me better. I still don't know what to do about you, I said honestly. About us. I care about you, maybe love you, but I don't know if I can trust you. And I don't know if what I feel is real or just intensity born from working together. That's fair. He didn't look hurt, just thoughtful. Can I ask you something? Anything. When you think about your future, 5 years from now, 10, do you see yourself alone, building your career, fighting your fights, changing the world solo? I thought about it, really thought about it. No, I admitted. I see someone beside me, supporting me, challenging me, making me better. Is it me? Or Minho? I don't know. It hurt to say. I love you both. Differently. Impossibly. And I don't know how to choose. Then don't. He touched my face. Don't choose. Not yet. Focus on your job. On the work. On figuring out who you are as Congresswoman Bennett instead of Strategist Bennett. And when you're ready, if you're ready, we'll still be here. What if I'm never ready? What if the work is enough? Then I'll accept that. But Simone. He leaned in, his breath warm against my ear. I don't think the work will ever be enough for you. You want too much from life. Feel too much. You're not built for lonely. He kissed my cheek. Gentle. Final. Then he went back inside, leaving me alone with the city and my victory, an impossible choice that still waited. I stood for Congress. I fought for my policies. I made enemies and allies in equal measure. I worked with Yoo-chan when our goals aligned and against him when they didn't. I had coffee with Minho once a month and pretended my heart didn't hurt every time. 6 months into my term, Yoo-chan ran for Senate. He won. We ended up serving together, sometimes on the same side, sometimes opposed, always complicated. A year after the election, Minho got engaged. I went to the wedding. Yoo-chan was there too. We sat at different tables, barely spoke, but when our eyes met across the reception, something passed between us. Understanding maybe. Acceptance that what we were was frozen in time, unable to move forward or back. 2 years after taking office, I introduced a major ethics reform bill. It had no chance of passing. I introduced it anyway. Yoo-chan co-sponsored it. We worked together for 6 months, fighting for something we both knew was doomed. The bill died in committee. We got drinks after. Sat in a bar arguing about what went wrong and what we'd do differently next time. Next time, he said, swirling his whiskey, we need to build the coalition before we introduce. Get commitments. Play the game a little. I don't play games. I know. It's why you'll never be an effective legislator. He said it fondly. And why you're exactly what this place needs. Was that a compliment or an insult? Both, obviously. He looked at me, really looked. Do you ever think about what could have been? If I'd been honest from the start? If Minho hadn't lied? If we'd all just been different people? All the time, I admitted. But I don't know if different would have been better. Maybe we needed to be exactly who we were to get here. You really believe that? I don't know. But it's easier than thinking we destroyed something that could have been perfect. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, for what it's worth, Simone, I don't regret any of it. The lying, the hurt, the complications. Because it led to this. To you in Congress. To us working together. To something mattering more than personal happiness. That's bleak. That's honest. He finished his drink. Stood. I should go. Early meeting tomorrow. He left. I stayed, ordered another drink, and thought about choices and consequences and the slow, steady ache of loving someone you can never quite have. 5 years after the election, I was up for re-election. My opponent was tougher this time, a moderate Republican with deep pockets and good messaging. The polls were tight. Yoo-chan was up for re-election too. His race was even tighter. We campaigned separately, strategized together, argued about everything and agreed on nothing, and somehow still managed to support each other. 3 weeks before Election Day, his campaign released an ad. It showed footage of us working together, fighting for the ethics bill, testifying about infrastructure reform, standing side by side at press conferences. Some people say she's too idealistic, Yoo-chan's voice said over the images. Too uncompromising, too unwilling to play the game. They're right. And that's exactly why we need her. Vote Bennett. Vote for someone who believes in better. The ad went viral. My opponents claimed it proved I was secretly in bed with the opposition. Yoo-chan's base was furious that he'd endorsed an independent who'd opposed half his policies. We both nearly lost our primaries, but we won our general elections. Barely. By the skin of our teeth and the strength of voters who were tired of traditional politics. The night we won, we ended up at the same bar. Same booth. Different circumstances. We did it again, I said. We did. He looked exhausted, exhilarated. How long do you think we can keep this up? Doing work that matters? Fighting fights we believe in? Probably forever. That's not what I meant. He was looking at me in that way that made my breath catch. How long do we keep pretending that this, he gestured between us, is just about work? Yoo-chan, I love you. He said it simply, like a fact. I have loved you for 5 years, through campaigns and bills and fights and compromises. I love you when you're brilliant and when you're impossible and when you're both. And I'm tired of pretending I don't. My heart was racing. I love you too. You know I do. But I don't know if love is enough. I don't know if we can be together without destroying what we've built. I don't know if mixing personal and professional is smart or sustainable or maybe, he interrupted, maybe we stop overthinking it. Maybe we just try. Maybe we fail spectacularly and it's messy and complicated and we figure it out. Because Simone, I don't want to be 80 years old, looking back at my career, wondering what could have happened if I'd been brave enough to risk it. I stared at him, at his face, at the hope and fear and love there. What about Minho? I asked quietly, what about him? I loved him too, still do in some ways, and he was good to me, steady, safe. And he's married, happily, to someone who isn't you. Yoo-chan's voice was gentle. You're allowed to let that go. You're allowed to choose something different. What if I choose you and it doesn't work? What if we destroy our friendship, our professional relationship, everything we've built? Then we'll have tried. That's more than we have now. I looked at him, this man who'd been my opponent, my ally, and my almost lover for 5 years. This man who challenged me and frustrated me and made me better. And I thought about my mother's words from years ago, about fighting for what's possible, about making better good enough. Maybe perfect wasn't possible. Maybe Yoo-chan and I would never have the easy love Minho offered. Maybe we'd fight and struggle and make each other crazy. But maybe that was enough. Or maybe it wasn't. I opened my mouth to answer, to choose, to finally decide. And then my phone rang. Urgent. A vote was being called. Something about budget reconciliation. We had to go. Now. Yoo-chan looked at me. I looked at him. And without deciding anything, we left together. Back to work. Back to the fight. Back to the undefined space where we lived. Not lovers. Not quite friends. Something else entirely. That was 3 months ago. I still don't know what I want. Who I want. If I want anyone at all, or if the work is enough. Some days, I think about calling Yoo-chan. Telling him yes. Risking everything for the possibility of something real. Other days, I think about the peace of being alone. Of not having to navigate someone else's needs and fears and complications. Most days I just work. I fight. I try to make things better in whatever small ways I can. Yoo-chan and I still grab drinks. Still argue about policy. Still look at each other like we're one conversation away from either finally getting together or finally letting go. Minho checks in sometimes. Asks how I'm doing. Tells me about his kids. Never mentions the past unless I bring it up first. And I keep moving forward. Keep building. Keep fighting. Maybe someday I'll figure out what I want. Who I want. Maybe I'll choose Yoo-chan. Maybe I'll choose solitude. Maybe I'll choose something else entirely. Or maybe this is the answer. Maybe the choice isn't between them or between love and work. Maybe the choice is to keep living in the uncertainty. Keep building something that matters. Keep being exactly who I am. Complicated, uncompromising, unwilling to settle for easy answers. I don't know if that's brave or cowardly, smart or stupid, right or wrong, but it's honest. And after everything, after the lies and betrayals and impossible choices, maybe honest is all I can offer. To them, to myself, to the people I serve. It's not a neat ending, not satisfying, not the kind of resolution anyone wants. But it's mine, and for now that's enough. Or maybe it's not. I guess I'll find out